Yo, what's going on, guys? Jay here, and today I finally have for you the Pink Tape review by Lil Uzi Vert. Now, Uzi has been hyping up the Pink Tape for years at this point. This was supposed to drop initially back in late 2021, early 2022, I think, if not before that. So, fans have been waiting, and it's interesting to see Uzi put themselves into this scenario again where it's about 3 years between albums, all the fans are waiting, but I think this time they sold it better than Eternal Atake, to be honest. Lil Uzi has been one of the most new, different, and refreshing artists to come out over the last 7 to 8 years or so, where they have been super dominant and super visible in terms of mainstream success. Huge fan base. Everybody loves Uzi. Uzi isn't someone who has a lot of haters. And, even if their discography isn't the best, their place in hip hop is very important. Back in high school, they used to be one of my favorite rappers too. For a long period of time, I was bumping hella Uzi. And at this point, they've fallen off for me a little bit. But since the Pink Tape came out, it has reinvigorated Uzi into my rotation again. Because the Pink Tape really did make me appreciate Uzi for the artists that they are. The album kicks off with Flooded the Face, which is a song that was recorded initially 6 or 7 years ago, back in 2016, and you could tell off rip that this is 2016 Uzi. They touched the song up, made some adjustments before putting it on the album, and this is the best song on the album, in my opinion. This is vintage Uzi in their bag. The instrumental is this 20 minutes Money Longer type beat that just makes you flow. It's just very grand, very atmospheric, and Uzi is doing their thing in terms of just fun choruses, some interesting inflections that they're trying out. You get a lot of memorable Uzi bars. They kick the track off super memorable way. And yes, despite the fact that none of the other 25 tracks on this album live up to how good Flooded the Face is, there is still a lot of quality in this track list. And the album does start off strong with the next track, Suicide Doors, being an absolute rage-inspired banger. On the intro, we get a vocal clip of Charleston White pretty much just talking mad shit about Uzi, coming at Uzi for their sexuality and the way that they be dressing, trying to discredit Uzi as a rapper and as a gangster. And I thought it was super cool for Uzi to include this clip of Charleston as a fuck you. I think most Uzi fans would agree that the thing that they admire the most about them is that, it's their ability to just say, fuck it, I'ma just do me. Uzi's out there side questing, having a good time. This is a reflection of that fuck it, I'ma do me mentality that Uzi always brings. On this track, we do see a lot of Cardi influence as well, with some ad-libs that sound like they could have been on Whole Lotta Red, and some other vocal inflections and deliveries that Uzi is using. Again, this is another highlight on the album for me, but it is a 4-minute long track, which I think is completely unnecessary for an Uzi song of this style that is just supposed to be straight hype, straight energy. It does drag on a little bit. A is another banger that features a monstrous rage beat from Benny X that has some eclectic violins thrown in. And that's one thing I really like about Benny X's production style. Obviously, he's on the come up right now, producing for a lot of big names. I feel like he does a good job of using instruments in untraditional ways. When you listen to his instrumentals and just tap in to what the instrumental is actually composed of for a second, you start to notice that he's doing a lot of other different shit than rage trap producers, and he's playing with a lot of stuff. So I've really been enjoying his instrumentals here. And A, I think is one of the best. It's very dramatic, very exciting, and it just does a good job of building tension throughout the song and building hype for Uzi and Travis Scott to play off of. Lil Uzi's A refrain that they use on the chorus is super commanding, and as much as some people might say it's repetitive, redundant, whatever, it gets you hype, it gets you in the zone, and it does what it's supposed to do. And of course, Travis Scott's verse, thought of by many to be questionable. No doubt, it is not a very good feature verse, but it doesn't bring the song down. There are a lot of trap songs where artists will have features that are, downright bad, but it just doesn't affect the quality of the song. Kind of like Quavo on Pick Up the Phone. Travis Scott, like, yeah, really shit lyrics, but like, yeah, I could also, sing along to this, get hyped to this. So, serves his role well. Crush 'Em is another track I wanted to highlight here as some vintage Uzi. Again, we're getting super memorable classic Uzi bars like running through all these hoes, I need me a Heisman. The crush 'em refrain on the chorus is also, again, super catchy. Kind of like the A refrain where, again, it's very simple, but it's hypnotic, it gets you locked in. And vintage Uzi, like I said, that sounds like, or Crush 'Em sounds like a track that could have been on the first Love Is Rage album. I will say though, the random electronic synths that start to come on in the second half of the track are kind of annoying and they're a little off-putting. I'm not the biggest fan of them. But again, overall, this is still another banger. Now, the following 3-track run of Amped Up, 2 Times, and Died and Came Back is pretty weak to me. This is definitely a lull in the album. They all feature these very, like, sugary, poppy instrumentals. I don't really know. Sugary is the best word I can think of. It just feels like so much. Like, I feel like when I'm listening to the beat, it feels like it's too much going on. It's too animated and synthy, where again we have these generally annoying instrumentals and then uninspiring and sometimes downright bad Uzi performances on a song like Died and Came Back. Try to showcase some of the issues that I have with Pink Tape, because again, this is a 26 song long album, which is kind of crazy, so there is a handful of misses here, and it allows for more room for weak Uzi performances to shine through. And then of course you have bars like the ravioli is not spaghetti on Died and Came Back, which Uzi, obviously not the best lyricist, but they have a lot of questionable lyrics throughout this album, and it's whatever. Sometimes, they come off a little cutesy and funny, but sometimes, like here, this is just stupid. That is a nonsense lyric. But moving on to a track for me that's a major highlight that I don't think a lot of people like is Endless Fashion with Nicki Minaj. I mean, there's nothing too crazy here. This is simple, straightforward pop trap banger from the very radio friendly melody and the instrumental that carries the song, as well as the super catchy and fun chorus, which is one of my favorite parts about it. So I sold my soul for some chrome hearts. It gets stuck in your head. That is I would say, the goal of this track. And again, Uzi and Nicki, neither of their performances are super awe-inspiring or super crazy, but this is just a light-hearted, fun, enjoyable banger. Nakamura is another track I wanted to highlight here. I think, again, another one of my favorites, but I think this track is super cool because it samples WWE superstar Shinsuke Nakamura's entrance theme, and Uzi uses this song in line with the instrumental so well, because for the most part the instrumental is just the entrance song with some other hi-hats and nonsense thrown in there to give it some personality, but this was just a straightforward banger. Uzi's got some great singing on the chorus. It's just, again, another one of these super intense, super high energy tracks, and again their high energy flows mixed with this thrilling instrumental just make for another standout on the album. We see Uzi taking some influence, paying some homage to a great wrestler while also using it to make an absolute banger of a track. Just Wanna Rock was the big single to come out leading up to Pink Tape. This was obviously a huge hit. Everybody loved it. I was never the biggest fan. I think it's a cool, Jersey club type track. It's fun. You could dance to it. You could have a good time to it. But I'm personally not really listening to it, although I do enjoy the song and I get the appeal of it. One of my favorite qualities of the Pink Tape is how willing to experiment Uzi is, of course. There is the punk rock and metal segment of the album, which we'll get to in a little bit, but again, like I said, we see the pop trap bangers. We're seeing Uzi in their rage bag. And in terms of experiments, the track Fire Alarm is personally one of my favorites. It is this super enthralling, high intensity banger where there's this alarm constantly looping in the background, building with the beat, and the beat itself is just this evil, menacing, hard trap instrumental. And once it all drops, we get this super eclectic, and again, the alarm is wailing in the back, the bass is hitting hard, the drums are kicking, and Uzi's voice is pitched all the way down, and they are just giving a super fast, passionate, rapping performance. and it is just, it's not like anything I've ever heard before. So I really enjoy this track, and I love the originality of it as well as the unsettling vibe it creates. And yeah, so about the more rock influenced songs, they're cool, but not really my type of music. Obviously, CS was super cool to see them recreating a track like Chop Suey. You also get to see Uzi collab with a band like Bring Me the Horizon, which again is super cool, but just to me, I respect Uzi for doing it. It didn't come out the best in my opinion, but it's a cool part of the album, cool thing to see, even though it's not the best. And even though it is the weakest part of the album. Now, I'm going to talk about the track Patience with Don Toliver, which is a beautiful but simple moment for this album that is just absolute chaos, There's so much going on throughout this long album, and so much high intensity. Uzi brings a lot of energy to every song here. And then we get to Patience, which just has this heavy, powerful, atmospheric instrumental that sucks you into this world, this little bubble beyond everything else going on in the Pink Tape. This is like an escape from that for a brief moment. We get some passionate singing from Uzi as well as Don Toliver, who does a great job on the backing vocals. We're getting the super catchy refrains from Uzi of, I don't know if you're really in love with me now, followed by Don Toliver's backing vocals. This track definitely isn't perfect, but this is a really special track. Again, not like anything that I've ever really heard before, despite the simplicity of it. The lyricism is nothing crazy, but this is just a super unique and enjoyable cut from the two. And I would also say that it is my favorite vibe on the album. You catch a lot of vibes throughout the Pink Tape with all the different shit that Uzi's trying out, and this is definitely my favorite. And moving on to the final 3 tracks of the album, the bonus tracks, Zoom was cool, and the other two, I'm gonna be honest, I don't even remember the name, but they are pretty crap. They could have been left off. But yeah, anyways, the Pink Tape is a really interesting album to discuss because there is a lot of apparent flaws that you can see before you listen to it. Like, the thing with the length of the Pink Tape is that it's obviously too long. It really prevents me from going back and listening to the project in full. But I do think the essential part of the album, where again, this album I really feel like is just Uzi throwing a lot of shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. So as much as the length of this album does hurt it in theory, I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, if that makes sense. Again, like I've been saying, Uzi's experimentation is the biggest appeal of this album to me. I really enjoy listening to this record and hearing all the different things that they're trying out, all the different places they might plan to go with their music in the future. Where, like I mentioned before, we do get this interpolation of Chop Suey by System of a Down on CS. We also see throughout the album at different points where Uzi will, use a refrain from another song like Hate Being Sober by Chief Keef, or even at one point was singing the chorus of Somebody That I Used to Know by whoever wrote that song. I do wish there was a little bit more features from rappers here. Of course, a Cardi feature would have been cool, because we really only do get Travis and Nicki here. And again, with so many tracks, it would have been refreshing to hear some other voices on here. I do think Uzi is taking a lot of influence from Testing by A$AP Rocky here, because again, we do see this experimentation, but not a super far deviation from Uzi's typical sound for the most part, and also not a cohesive experimentation like Kanye West's Yeezus. That is a cohesive album where he is experimenting, trying his hand in industrial hip-hop. Testing and the Pink Tape, for the most part, again, like I said, there's the rock songs on the Pink Tape, but for the most part, explore other crevices of hip-hop subgenres and really just push the boundaries of what rap music is. But for the most part, I mean, Uzi really did their thing here. Again, there's some misses and it's too long or whatever, but the songs that bang here bang. There's a good 8 to 10 songs that, I'm taking with me that I'm going to be listening to a good bit. And I thought this was a super fun album to listen to. Uzi really delivered something. Not one of their best albums or not anything groundbreaking, but they really delivered one of the most enjoyable album experiences of the year. And for that reason, I will be giving the Pink Tape by Lil Uzi Vert a 6.3 out of 10. Be sure to let me know what you guys think of Pink Tape in the comments below. This was one of the biggest releases of the year, had everybody talking. It's been a month or two now, so it's interesting to see where everyone stands on it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share. Appreciate you guys, appreciate you checking this out. Stay safe, and I will catch you in the next one, guys. Peace.